The moment Claire heard the soft thud against her living room wall, followed by muffled sobbing, she knew something was different next door. For 6 months, she'd lived in apartment 4B, right beside Marcus Chen and his 5-year-old daughter Lily, and never once had she heard crying through those walls. Laughter, yes. The patter of small feet racing across hardwood floors. Even the occasional Disney soundtrack played at full volume. But never tears. Never this raw, broken sound that made her press her palm against the shared wall as if she could somehow absorb the pain seeping through the plaster. Claire had mastered the art of invisible living. At 34, divorced and childless, she'd built a careful existence of early mornings at the bakery where she worked, quiet evenings with novels and wine, and minimal interaction with neighbors beyond polite hallway smiles. She told herself she preferred it this way: no complications, no disappointments, no one close enough to leave. But standing there in her darkening apartment, listening to Marcus trying to soothe his daughter through what sounded like a complete meltdown, something shifted in her chest. "Daddy, I miss Mommy," Lily's voice pierced through the wall, high and desperate. Why doesn't she want to see me anymore? Claire's breath caught. She'd seen Marcus in the hallway dozens of times, always patient, always carrying Lily on his shoulders or holding her hand, his messenger bag slung across his body as he juggled groceries and his daughter's backpack. She'd noticed the absence of a partner, the way he did everything alone, but she'd never asked. Never let herself wonder about the story behind his tired eyes. "Baby, it's complicated," Marcus's voice was thick with emotion. "But I love you enough for 2 parents, okay? I promise you'll never feel unloved." That's when Claire found herself in the hallway, her hand raised to knock before her mind could talk her out of it. Marcus opened the door looking disheveled, his work shirt untucked, eyes red-rimmed. Behind him, Lily sat crumpled on the couch, clutching a stuffed elephant. "I'm sorry," Claire started. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop," but she held up a container of chocolate chip cookies she'd grabbed from her kitchen. "I thought maybe cookies might help. I work at Sunrise Bakery, and these are fresh from today." Marcus looked at her for a long moment, surprise and exhaustion warring on his face. Then his shoulders sagged slightly, and he stepped back. "That's incredibly kind. Thank you. I'm Marcus, by the way. Officially, I know we've done the hallway wave thing." "Claire." She managed a small smile, stepping inside tentatively. Lily looked up at the cookies, her tear-stained face wary but interested. Claire knelt down to her level. "Hi, Lily. Your dad talks about you sometimes in the elevator. He says you're the smartest kindergartner in the whole school." "He does." Lily's voice was small. "Every time." Claire opened the container. "Want to know a secret? These cookies are magic. They don't fix everything, but they make sad days a little bit sweeter." Over cookies and milk, the story came out. Marcus's ex-wife had left 2 years ago, struggling with postpartum depression that had never fully resolved. She'd recently moved across the country for treatment and a fresh start, and the distance had made visits impossible. Lily's teacher had done a Mother's Day craft project that day, 2 weeks early, and Lily had come home devastated, the only child without a mother to give her handmade card to. "I tried to tell the school at the beginning of the year," Marcus said quietly, once Lily had fallen asleep between them on the couch, cookie crumbs on her shirt. "But somehow it keeps getting forgotten. And I can't protect her from everything. I can't be everything she needs." "You're doing an amazing job," Claire said, and she meant it. "I've watched you for months, not in a creepy way," she added quickly, making him smile slightly. "But I've seen how she looks at you. How happy she is. How loved. I wish someone loved me like that," Claire whispered, almost to herself. The words escaped before she could stop them, raw and honest in a way she hadn't been with anyone in years. Marcus turned to look at her, really look at her, and Claire felt suddenly exposed. She started to stand, to make excuses and flee to the safety of her apartment, but Marcus reached out, his hand gentle on her arm. "Stay," he said softly. "Please. If you want. We could just talk." She stepped closer instead of away, lowering herself back onto the couch. And they talked. About his marriage and her divorce. About the loneliness of being surrounded by people in a city of millions. About dreams deferred and hopes barely acknowledged. Claire learned that Marcus was a graphic designer who worked from home 3 days a week to be there for Lily. That his parents had passed away years ago, and he had no siblings. That he was terrified every single day that he wasn't enough for his daughter. Claire shared things she'd never told anyone, how her ex-husband had wanted children and she'd been so focused on her career that she'd kept putting it off, until one day he left for someone who shared his timeline. How she'd buried herself in work at the bakery, taking on extra shifts, anything to avoid going home to an empty apartment and emptier life. How she'd convinced herself she didn't need connection, but the truth was she was just too afraid to try again. I used to think needing people made you weak, Marcus said, glancing at his sleeping daughter. That asking for help meant I was failing. But Lily's taught me that love isn't about being perfect or self-sufficient. It's about showing up, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Something in Claire's heart, something that had been locked tight for 3 years, began to crack open. I don't know how to show up anymore, she admitted. I don't know how to let people in. Marcus smiled, tired but genuine. You're here right now, aren't you? That's showing up. The next morning, Claire knocked again, this time with fresh cinnamon rolls and an offer to walk Lily to the school bus stop since it was on her way to work. Marcus looked stunned but grateful. It became a routine. Claire would bring breakfast twice a week, Marcus would save her dinner when he cooked extra. She started joining them for movie nights on Fridays. When Lily got the flu, Claire took half days at the bakery to help, reading stories while Marcus worked on deadlines. Miss Claire, are you my daddy's girlfriend? Lily asked one Saturday afternoon while they colored together, Marcus at the grocery store. Claire's heart hammered. Would that be okay with you if I was? Lily considered this seriously, then nodded. I think you love him. And he loves you. He smiles more now. Real smiles. When Marcus came home to find Claire baking in his kitchen, Lily on the counter, helping, and getting flour everywhere, he set down the groceries and just stared. Claire looked up, suddenly self-conscious. Is this okay? We thought we'd surprise you with. He crossed the kitchen in 3 strides and kissed her. Gentle and questioning and full of every conversation they'd had over 2 months. When he pulled back, his eyes were bright. I've wanted to do that for weeks, but I was scared. Scared of messing up our friendship, scared of letting someone in who might leave. I'm not leaving, Claire interrupted, surprised by the certainty in her voice. I spent 3 years running from connection, Marcus. From the possibility of getting hurt again. But you and Lily, you've reminded me what I was really running from was love itself. And I'm done running. That Mother's Day, Lily gave Claire the card she'd made, construction paper and glitter glue and a stick figure family of 3. You're not my mommy, Lily explained seriously, but you're my Claire. And that's even more special because you chose us. Claire hung the card on her refrigerator in apartment 4B, though she spent most nights now in 4C, in the home they were building together. She'd started with cookies and kindness, never imagining that one moment of stepping closer instead of away would reshape her entire life. But that's how love works, she'd learned, not in grand gestures, but in small acts of courage. In showing up. In staying. In choosing, again and again, to let someone love you like that.